In order to further deepen our knowledge of the tone curve, let's explore how we can make some interesting and creative adjustments to our photographs using this panel. Now, the first thing that I want to do is select the Target Adjustment tool. I can do that either by clicking on the icon here, or you can use a shortcut. On a Mac, it's Shift Option Command T. On Windows, that's Shift Alt Control T. You can find that shortcut by navigating to your Tools pull-down menu, and then by choosing Target Adjustment. And over here, you'll see that shortcut listed on the far right. You can also select the tool by simply clicking on it here. Now, you'll notice that the Target Adjustment tool is available for the tone curve, the HSL, and the black and white panels. And this is actually quite a powerful tool because it helps us make adjustments to real specific areas of our photographs. Therefore, you might want to take a minute and just jot down these different shortcuts. Well, whether or not you like the shortcut, let's select the tool. And this time, let's do it simply by clicking on it here in the panel. Next, what I want to do is make some adjustments in order to increase the overall contrast. So I'll hover over the image, I'll go down to some of the darker tones, and I'll click and drag down. And I'll go up to the lighter tones, I'll bring those up, and also some of these other tones I'm going to darken and just make my way around the image, just looking at these different tones and trying to create a different interpretation of this photograph. Here I have this real dramatic S-curve, and if we look at our before and after, we have before and then after. Pretty interesting color, really punchy, really vivid. Well, what we can do is we can also go to our other option here where we have these different points that we can control. We can use the Target Adjustment tool here as well. Now in this case, I'll go ahead and use this tool, and I'll bring down some of my blacks there, and I'll go to some of the other tones, deepen those up a bit. And then I'll make my way up here, bringing up some of those lighter tones or brighter tones. And you can see that now we're kind of adding to this effect. We're increasing this. We're stacking up the overall effect. Well, let's take a look. Here we have it, our before and then our after. What we originally thought was really contrasty and really saturated has now been taken even further. And just to illustrate this, let me show you something. What I'm going to do is take my curve back to a linear point curve. Next, I'm going to do something which is a little bit strange, but I want to do this to illustrate how this tone curve panel works. So here I'll go ahead and bring my black point all the way up to the top. So I'm just going to click and drag that up to the top. My white point I'm going to bring back down to the bottom. Here I'm creating an inverted version of the photograph. Well, the image, as you can see, has been completely inverted, right? Well, what happens then if I go back to the other view? Well, if you click on this icon here, all of a sudden my curve now is inverted. Now I still have those same kind of limited areas, so that if I modify any of these areas, dragging one of these one way or another, you can see that it's targeting that particular tonal range, but it's based on how these two curves are working together. So here I'll make some changes. Well, let's say that we don't like this inverted view. Well, in this case, let's go back, and here we'll go back to our linear, and then we'll bring that back to normal. Well, now in this case, what I'm trying to illustrate is just how we can stack up these two different effects. How we can dial in something with one curve and then go into another, and we can make even stronger or perhaps more dramatic results. And that sometimes these two together can lead to some interesting results. All right, well, just a couple more things here. Well, let's go back to our option here, and let's say that we have all these regions modified. Well, if you hold down Option or Alt, you can reset those regions by clicking on that Reset button. Well, here we've resetted those regions, but you'll notice the curve has a different angle, right? You can see it's a bit steeper. Let me exaggerate this even more. I'll go back to my point curve, bring this point down and this one up, and then we'll go back to this other option. You can see that that curve line is always going to stay the same. And again, all that I'm trying to do here is illustrate the connection between these two different ways of working. And keep in mind that there's no one right way to do this. Rather, sometimes you'll find that you'll use these two techniques together. Other times, you may discover that you'll just work in one mode, say like this point curve mode, because it gives you that flexibility and also the strength of being able to make adjustments to specific areas, kind of like we're used to inside of Photoshop. So now that you know a little bit about how all of these controls work on that grayscale file and now on this photograph, let's explore how we can correct exposure with the tone curve, and let's do that in the next movie.